All right, guys. Hey, welcome back to another episode. I'm excited for this one. We got Dan Martell in the studio today, and he has a book that I love, Buy Back Your Time. And this is something that I heard. We were just talking off camera. I heard about your book before I even met you, got connected with you. I had a high-level friend of mine say, I love this book because it's helping me scale my business and be able to buy back my time so I can do more. So super excited to have you today.
Thanks, man. It's
at
an
my
honor.
house in the studio.
Yeah.
And
I love
it's always
meeting your
better in
family,
person
man.
like that.
I love seeing how important family is to you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's to me. It's like all the business stuff's cool, but if the people aren't there to share it with, I don't know why people do it.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that.
Yeah.
So we're kind of talking off camera and we're like, let's just get rolling because we were talking about some cool stuff in your story. And one of the things that I found most interesting in your book is you were in jail twice. And I was saying, like, you look like this clean cut, like your hair's short, and like you look the part, blue eye, like American boy, and you were in jail twice. Like, can you take us through that?
Yeah, it's funny because like I'm 43 right now, and it's like this happened when I was 15, 16.
Yeah.
So even thinking about it, and I'm glad like I have evidence, it just doesn't feel like it happened.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, Eric. Like
I think it does.
It's just weird because like I'll tell you, and I remember feeling the feelings, but I'm so not that kid anymore or that person. Just through the personal growth and the development that it's kind of interesting for me to reflect on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just grew up in a really challenging environment. My mom was an alcoholic. She grew up, adopted and around alcoholic parents, and she did what she knew how to do. And she had 4 kids, and I can't even imagine. She pretty much raised us solo. My dad was in sales, so he was always traveling. Yeah. I'm second oldest of 4. And I just, I think if I was born 300 years ago, I would be like the evolutionary hunter, right? Hyperactive, go-getter. But I just had way too much time on my hands and got diagnosed with ADHD when I was 11.
Yeah.
And for a while would try to refuse taking my medication because I didn't like how it made me feel. My mom would like hide it in my food, and they knew when I got around it, like the school would call or like, hey, Dan's acting out again or whatever. Yeah. So I was just a hyperactive kid, a lot of energy, experienced a bit of emotional trauma at home and anger issue. That was a big one. I'd get so upset as a kid, I would just see red, like just full on, just rage. And I found out years later it's because when I acted that way, my mom would have to call my dad and he'd come home. So I got the attention that I wanted, maybe not in the way I wanted.
But you wanted dad home.
I wanted my dad.
So it was a self-sabotage to get what you wanted. Yeah, that's interesting.
Now that was 4 or 5 years later in therapy, but
yeah.
So like that was my environment. The criminal stuff started just as a byproduct of being introduced to drugs and just having,
and that was pretty early on too. Was like 15?
13. Yeah, dude,
that's
I got
super early.
I never shared this publicly, but I ended up getting sentenced to 7 weeks in like juvenile detention the first time at 14 because I sold drugs to the daughter of a police chief. So I wasn't even that smart. Like
you
that
didn't
was
know? Like
I would love to say I didn't know, but I knew her dad.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I figured. I don't know. Like it wasn't like I didn't grow up in the hood. I grew up in a normal neighborhood, but what happened was I always got labeled as like bad. And then I just kind of, I lived into my label. Right. Yeah. And then like none of the kids in the neighborhood, cops had been to my house a couple of times because some of the way I acted, and, every other kid had to like hide in the woods to play with me. And so that was just like my upbringing. So like the drugs started at 13, ended up, selling to support my little habit or whatever at the time. And then ended up hanging out with people older and teaching me stuff I shouldn't be learning, and just kind of spiraled out of control. And I remember the first time I went to jail, juvenile detention, I got out, I was like, all right, never again, clean up my act, new friends. I lasted less than 6 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. That night, high and drunk, same people. And that was like, 15 and then pretty much 16 and a half, like for a year and a half, my life just was like no more school, hardcore drugs, living in, essentially on the floor of an apartment that like 6 other people lived in. Like it just was super unhealthy. And eventually my brother called me and he's like, hey man, I was living with my mom. My parents got separated when I was younger, 13.
Yeah.
And he says, don't come home. The cops are waiting for you. And I didn't know what to do. So I stole a car and decided I'm going to drive to my uncle's place, which lived in a different state. Well, I'm Canadian, so province, so a different province. And on the way to heading to, go see my uncle, I took just an exit off the highway to get some gas, and there was a routine roadblock. So when I pulled up, the cop asked me for my driver's license and registration, and I just took off and got in a high-speed chase. I was super drunk, high all over the place. Yeah. And I ended up in this neighborhood, and I saw an open garage door and thought maybe I could like pull in and hide out and run out the back door or something. I ended up going into the driveway way too fast and smashed into the side of the house. And next to me was a handgun. I
remember this part of your story. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And you couldn't get it free.
No, I remember like airbags go off, not wearing a seatbelt, smashed my face all over the dash.
And you just think to grab this gun and you were just going to unload.
Go back to jail.
You didn't want to go, yeah.
I didn't want to go. So I went for the gun and started pulling on it, and it got stuck between the seat and the bag. And
next thing you know, you're outside. They got you handcuffed and
handcuffed, dude. They like
beat the shiz out of you.
Yeah, they don't really appreciate somebody doing that. So they like literally. I mean, I kind of remember, but I was pretty wasted, and just like floated across the front lawn. 5 or 6 of them just held me in the air, and then kind of like frisked me and then threw me in the back of the cop car.
Wow.
And yeah, I woke up sober the next day in a jail cell, wondering like what my life was going to look like.
And so how long were you there in jail that time?
That time, so I got sentenced to almost 2 years total for everything. I ended up getting sentenced to an adult prison because of the severity of my crime and my history at that point, because I had done some stuff in between and ended up in group homes and stuff. And yeah, I ended up like in a real jail with cell blocks and, locked up and all that fun stuff with like, there was these 2 youth units that was like supposed to be like this rehab program, but I mean, it was like the worst of the worst kids. So we weren't doing anything productive. Yeah. And I remember one day I was having breakfast and I drank the last of the coffee, and there was this kid named Kirk, and he went to grab the coffee to pour himself a cup. And I mean, that's the only stimulant you get in prison is coffee. So it's kind of like liquid gold. And he just goes to pour it out and nothing's there. And he just goes, who's the goof that drank all the coffee? And I knew as soon as somebody calls you a goof in prison. So I stood up and I just said, it was me. What are you gonna do about it? And it's like, boom, fight goes off. Me and Kurt are fighting across the table. The guards rush the cell block, grab us, and they throw us in the hole. And solitary confinement, or the shoe, is probably the most unhumane thing you could do to an individual. I mean, locked up in your underwear 24 hours a day, 23 and a half hours a day, let you out in this like little like concrete square with a fence as a roof for a half hour. And you're essentially sleeping on a concrete bed, staring at a stainless steel toilet in the sink, and I just sat there for the whole time, days. They don't even tell you how long you're going to be in there.
Wow.
And on the 3rd day, the door opens and there's this guy there standing there, and it's this guy named Brian. He was the guard, the prison guard, and he'd been working there for like a decade or something like that. And he was off the day the fight happened. And over the time I was there, he was always like the cool kind of like, respect me, I'll look the other way if you want to grab 2 desserts kind of guy. Yeah. And he was just like super, you could just tell on his face, he had a lot of shame for me being locked up. Like, why would I allow myself? Because he saw me kind of like try to stick to my own thing, and I wasn't a troublemaker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he says, "Follow me," and I'm walking back with him to the cell block, and we walk past the door. Like in prison, there's like places you walk and don't walk, and I'd never gone past that door the whole time. Been there almost 6 months, and we walk past that door is the guard unit, and he opens it up and he says, "Come with me." Now, no inmates allowed in the guard unit.
Huh.
Right? Like I didn't know what was going on. I was scared.
When you've been in solitary confinement for days, 3 days.
Yeah.
So
and he just opens the door and says, "Follow me," and then brings me to the guard unit.
Yeah.
And he sits me down in the corner, and it's like the inside of the one-way mirror. So like I'd never seen inside the guard unit. And he sits me down in the corner, my back facing kind of the cell block, and he just pulls up a chair in front of me. He just looks at me and he goes, "What are you doing here, man?" I said, well, I got in a fight with Kirk, like, you know, and they threw us in the hole. And he goes, no, he goes, what are you doing here? And I said, well, like here? And he goes, yeah. I go, well, you know, high speed chase. I had some guns. I got in trouble with some drugs. And he goes, no, not that, man. He goes, I watch you stay out of trouble, do your own thing. You're working on your GED. And I need you to know that if you don't believe this, man, you don't belong here.
Yeah. So that was so good. When I read that, I'm like, that is powerful.
He literally,
he gave you permission to change your identity.
He believed in me when I had zero belief in myself. When I felt like not only did I belong there, I didn't even believe I should be alive. And he's like, dude, you don't belong here. I don't understand it. Like, Eric, like, imagine if I said to you, like, I don't understand, like, why you live in this country. And you're like, and he had this vision for my life. And I was just like, and the crazy part for me was, here's a guy that had no reason to do this. He would, if anything, he would get in trouble for having brought me in there to have this conversation. And he had seen, at that point, been there a decade. He probably saw hundreds of kids just like me.
You become numb to it almost, right?
Yeah. And I'm like, if he's saying this to me, like, there's got to be substance.
Yeah.
I think the messenger matters sometimes.
Yeah.
I think the message, like the words can be said by different people and they don't have the same weight. And there was just something about that moment, who was saying it, the fact that he took me out, that he'd been there for so long. And that planted a seed of a microcosm of belief that maybe he's right.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that long after, about 4 weeks, 5 weeks, that I got released to a therapeutic community to finish out my sentence. And I did 11 months in this crazy cool spot called Portage, built in the middle of nowhere, out in the woods. They build it out there in case you decide to run away.
Really?
Oh yeah, because there's like 6 houses on that street, and if you're hitchhiking, you're a kid, nobody's picking you up. They're like, walk. And we're talking like 2-3 hour walk to the highway, and then yeah. But that place saved my life and allowed me to rebuild a relationship with my family and the trust I'd lost, and made me understand my feelings and what created the meaning that I had given stuff and stories that happened in my life. And it was at the end of that program, I was helping Rick, the maintenance guy, clean out this old camp, because it's built on a church camp, this old cabin, that I found this old computer and a yellow book on Java programming sitting next to it. And I opened it up and it read like English. Yeah, I'm like, oh, I thought this was like, you know, hieroglyphics or something.
And you never had any experience with it?
Never touched a computer my whole life.
That's a gift.
But I'm also a person of faith today.
Yeah.
So I obviously believe God had a big hand in my journey. And cool. I lit up the computer and I got it to say hello world.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's such a cool story, man. And this is something I don't think it talks about in the book, but I'm curious to ask this question. I'm curious for your response. What was your identity? Can you remember? I know you were on drugs and you were sedated during that time when you were younger, but to the best of your knowledge, what would you say you told yourself you were? What was your identity before that that experience?
I can tell you very clearly that I was an angry kid, that I wasn't worth anything, that I was lucky that my parents decided to keep me, that I was troubled, that there was something broken with my brain, that if I could just learn to like get in line and just not create trouble, and if I didn't, I would have to deal with just being who I was. And I remember, because like when I was 11 or 12, I got taken out of my home. Okay, you have kids, right?
Yeah.
You got the newborn and
you have 4.
You got 4.
Yeah.
At 11, my son's 11 now. And at 11, I got taken out and put into a crisis center under supervision for 2 weeks. Because of my temper, because I threatened to, kill myself, whatever it was. And it's just like, man, there was a lot of emotional, wounds that I had to work through. But I mean, to say that I didn't love myself would be the biggest understatement in the world. Like, I mean, I didn't even feel worthy of breathing the air that I was.
Wow.
Yeah. I just honestly, many times, like there was a period before I got arrested, before I stole the car, after my brother said to not come home, I took 5 days and went into the woods at my buddy's camp, and I had a rifle with me, And I went out in the woods.
Yeah.
I went for a walk. I didn't want to be a burden anymore to anybody. I've never shared this with anybody. I sat in a field. Gun was loaded. Between my knees. Next to my head. And I was just praying I'd have the courage to pull the trigger.
Wow.
And it was thinking of my brothers and sisters is the only reason I never did it. I didn't want to hurt them. I know I wasn't the best brother, but I knew they loved me.
Yeah.
And I remember when I got out of that and I went back to the cabin, I essentially took the gun, took all the bullets out and threw them in the woods because I was like, I can't trust myself. And after a few days, I was like, okay, I got to get out of here. And that's when I decided to go. But there were so many times where we got pretty close.
That is crazy. I don't know if you guys are seeing what I'm seeing right now, but you're a powerful man. That is crazy to hear how low you were and how low you felt about yourself, I guess, your identity, to be able to see what you've done now and how many people you've helped by speaking, writing this book, being on podcasts. I mean, hundreds and thousands of people have heard your voice now, if not millions at this point. I don't know. But
dude, we get right now, thanks to this incredible team, I think we got 6 million people.
6 million
in the last 30 days.
And if that guy in that, what did you call it? The not the police room, but like the
guard unit.
The guard unit.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Brian.
pull you aside and just have that one little conversation that maybe lasted 20, 30 minutes.
5 minutes.
If that.
After I brought myself back from being cracked wide open, I started crying. I mean,
Wow.
And this is why, like, you know, I talk to my team because we travel all over together. They're here, right? Sam and Lowen. And like, my favorite thing in the world to do is to express the giftedness that I see in other people all the time.
Yeah.
It's literally my favorite thing to do. From Igor, our driver yesterday in Salt Lake City, to driver Sam, who's driving us around today. Like, I just think if it resonates on my soul, like if I'm aware of it, if I see somebody do something that I go, oh, that's cool, I almost take it as like, that's God saying to me, you should say something.
Speak it. Yeah.
So even like my wife kind of gets annoyed sometimes because like I do this quite a bit. So we're in the lineup at the passport control, you know, and I see a dad dealing with 3 kids that are going crazy, and he's just got the kindest heart, and you can just tell he's got so much love for his kids. And one's, you know, we've all been there,
yeah.
You know, laid out on the ground, freaking out. And I just go up to him. I got to tell you, man, today they may not understand it, but someday they're going to realize how incredible of a dad they got. And I just keep going. I like, there's no conversation. I just whisper it. I say it. If I literally, because I just can't understand. Like, I think that's what we're all here to do. We're all here to help other people see their greatness.
Yeah.
Like, we're all here to be a mirror for everybody. And it's such a gift that it's not something you earn. It's just who you are. And the reason why you see that is because of who you become. And for you not to do that or share that with other people is just such a missed opportunity.
Yeah. One of the things I think of when I hear your story and I hear you say that and then just try and wrap it together is I think that one of the greatest gifts that God can give us is to give us a little piece of broken. If he can give us that little piece of broken, I think I saw Alex Hormozy post today. And he was talking about one of his best friends that used to coach Olympic athletes. And he said that his friend told him, essentially, all the best athletes in the world are broken. They're broken in some way.
Yeah.
Every single one.
Dude, it's like, this is what's interesting, right? When I go speak with at-risk youth.
Yeah.
Okay. The last thing I tell them after I share my story and kind of give them some like tangible stuff, because they're like starting when they don't even, this personal development stuff, it's not even in their sphere of awareness.
They've never, yeah.
Like, it's a personal development. What? Like, they're just trying, like, it's But I always tell them, it's like, you guys are more prepared to go create the businesses, everything of the future.
Yeah.
Here's what I believe. I believe the lower you go, the higher you can go.
Yeah.
So think about that.
Hey man, I truly believe that. And
the
you
lower
can't force it.
No, it's just
Not
who
that
you
would
are.
want
God gave
to.
you those things, right?
It can be a gift.
Yeah. If you choose,
Yes.
it can either be the thing that holds you back for the rest of your life and cause you to be homeless. Like, dude, let's be honest here, Eric. The difference between Dan and the guy that's living on the streets, it's like this much. And if you're listening, I'm talking like millimeters. And here's why. The only difference is they have a negative response to the world and the challenges, and I have a positive response. That's all it is. I have learned in those moments of chaos to be an achiever, driven, all those stuff. And they just haven't found that tool. But it's the same drive, because I'll prove it to you. Think about this. Many of them deal with mental, disabilities and like challenges. Sure. Fine. But a lot of them have addiction problems. Yes?
Yes.
Like, people don't understand. They wake up with zero, less than zero, okay? With one desire to get high. And by 1 or 2 p.m. that day, they've accomplished that. Yeah. With zero. They started with nothing that morning. And so, like, when people see these folks and they look down on them, I'm like, you're crazy. Like, you are so like that person. Yeah. The only difference is your obsession, your drive, you found a positive response to that. And they haven't. But if they could overcome that, their mess, man, they would be incredibly driven, performant people. Because that's all I am. Right. I just took all the energy and the self-sabotaging and the negative habits and the negative self-talk and said, okay, what's the opposite of that? But that obsession,
changed their story.
That was it. I changed a meaning. I changed instead of being upset for the parents I got grateful for the parents I got. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like I used to wish I had different parents. Dude, my dad's my hero. My mom, I love my mom. I realized I got the parents I needed.
Tony Robbins says the same thing about his mom, right?
All the time. We wish we had
a tough mom, but
he
had a tough mom, but he bought her house on the beach.
Dude, I wouldn't be me if I didn't have my life. Right. And I really like my life.
Yeah.
So, but I just feel like people don't consider that when you see somebody that's down or struggling. It's like, hey, they just haven't been taught the tools that we've been fortunate enough to be taught.
That's cool. And it's cool that you're able to I think of like the book, The 4 Agreements, and the power of word and the power that you can speak into existence by using those, like the story of the guy with his kids sprawled out on the floor at the airport, and just those little things, like it was powerful for you. And now you get to share it with other people. I have this other question that's like popping into my mind that I just have to ask. Was it when the guy, spoke to you and you're just like, why are you here? It's hard for me to believe that somebody could just go cold turkey and go. Like, it would be a process, like atomic habits are changing, but like the catalyst is there. Did that old identity ever want to push itself back in? Like, did you have ups and downs, or was it like cold turkey and go?
My life is a roller coaster. I'm not going to sit here and do success theater. It's just not who I am.
Yeah.
A lot of people do it. I just can't. I live my life authentically to who I am. Every day, if you go on my Instagram, I post a story from a photo from back in the day. And I will tell you, if you see me today and you think that, look at this guy, he's good looking, he's tall, he looks like a freaking all-star football, whatever. Yeah. It's like, no. I used to weigh 265 pounds.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Okay. What else can we go down the line? First company, complete failure. Okay. Second company, complete failure. Dad begged me. He's like, look, I'm happy you're sober, but you should probably get a job. Like, this is a bit much. And I kept going. Negative self-talk, sabotage, scream at my employees, dude, everything, like all of it. I really wish I would have had a guy follow me around back then so that I could then show people the opportunity for transformation. And I'm not even saying that I'm not saying I'm okay. Zero part of me believes any part of me that isn't flawed. I am flawed. I might have longer periods without demonstrating my flaws, but they're still there sometimes. Every once in a while I can, I
love that though, because then it gives people permission. Hey, like, hey, I'm still not perfect, but I'm winning. Hey, I'm still not perfect, but I'm figuring it out. Hey,
dude, there's nothing.
But I can be authentic and vulnerable.
And I can just be honest that I'm getting better. Like I'm better this year than I was last year. I used to tell people like all the time, because dude, one of the things that pissed me off is when you like go see your old friends and they want to talk about the old stories.
Yeah.
Dude, Eric, I just zeroed.
You want to talk about what you're creating, like what's coming up, or what?
Zero conversation about the past, because I don't know about you, but I've been on a growth game. And if you haven't seen me in a while, let me reintroduce myself.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
I'm not the same Dan you know. I know I look like the same Dan you knew, but
I don't really.
Yeah, my buddy called it, you went from dad bod to Chad bod. I was like, that's funny. But yeah, and it's just like even my thoughts. Like when you said, do you remember how you thought back then or how you felt? I can tell you like, intellectually, and I can share some of these emotions, but like, dude, I don't like the way I used to look at the world and the way I look at the world today are so polar opposites that it's kind of like, whoa, that whole Think and Grow Rich stuff works. The Bible works. The God exists. Evolve. Like, dude, I'm telling you, it's real.
Yes. And you can change and you can make that your soundtrack.
Awesome.
Yep. I love it. I have this theory. This is the Eric to Dan theory, I guess, of why Dan is this way. If you can read code right off the bat, like I feel like technology in general is like buy back your time.
Yeah, essentially, it's one of the four areas.
It's a leverage. Yes, yeah, it's a way to leverage. Do you feel like that's why you are good at this? I mean, like, why did you write this book? Why is it buy back your time and not, hey, this is how you go from like homeless and juvie in jail to like successful?
First off, luckily I have a good team around me and they gave me a title that they thought would work really well.
Okay.
I think at one point somebody was like, you should call it Cocaine Decoder. I'm like, how about no?
Like yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Like literally this guy was like, I got your title of your book. I'm like, no, I'm not. Cause I didn't want to write a biography either. Like I told my story, but Eric, I didn't share that story with anybody for 15 years. So most people don't know that because they only see it today. They hear it on a podcast. They're like, wow, that's crazy, Dan. I can't believe you went through that. Oh yeah, by the way, like if we talk about like confidence, I was ashamed of that story for 15 years afterwards. Yeah. I didn't share it ever, not even with my fiance or wife at the time.
Wow.
The first time she heard it is the first time 200 people in a room heard it.
Wow. Crazy.
Yeah, and before I went on stage to tell it, she said, hey, my parents want to surprise you. They're going to come listen to your talk.
You're like, no.
I'm like, can you please not let them leave until I come give your mom a hug? Because I'm going to drop some stuff she has no idea about.
Yeah.
So again, I can share all those kind of like where I was to where I'm at today. But I wrote that book because there's something about the way I look at the world through a systems approach that I'm very left brain and right brain. Like I know that, like, some people are very operationally focused and other people are more creative and visionary focused. And I just have this interesting like middle ground where I love to be creative, but at the same time, I nerd out on systems at a level that most people didn't even know existed because I've studied it as if it was a profession. I have a PhD in it.
Yeah.
Like I could sit here and tell you how I've designed every company I've ever built using object-oriented programming concepts. Okay. Most people are like, what is that?
And I can't.
Exactly. But it's literally the way I build software and the methodologies of it. I mean, it's database design, it's unified modeling language. So it's natural to me because I fell in love and became obsessed with writing code at 17. It's like anything, like imagine like video games. When we started, we're like so obsessed. We like read the comic or we read the books, we watch the shows or whatever. So like I did that for so long that buying back my time was a byproduct of having to solve my own scalability to build the companies as a byproduct of just wanting to write more code. Like I just wanted to build more software because I just thought, here's what happened. And I've never shared this actually. I appreciate the question.
There's multiple reasons.
Yeah, it's the, I think because I grew up with so much uncertainty in my life that when I started writing code and it created predictability, right? Because when you write 10 lines of code, hello world, as long as the computer's running for the history of mankind, every time that code runs, it's always going to do hello world.
Do what you want to do.
When my mom came home
You didn't know what the heck was going on.
Dude.
Yeah, interesting.
I didn't know what next week was going to look like. I grew up in literally a level of uncertainty that most adults would faint under. And yet that became my superpower.
Yeah.
Because I'm able to deal with so much uncertainty in my life that in the most chaotic moments, I literally go zen.
You were able to take that like pain to purpose.
Dude, if all of you guys decided to start fighting, I would just sit back like this and wait, and I would attack at the right moment. I wouldn't panic. It's weird. Why? I went to prison.
Yeah.
And that would happen. Huh. And you can't be emotional. You literally have, anybody that's been in a fight, people that can actually fight, the reason why they're able to fight is because they know how to land a punch. You know why? Because when they start fighting, they don't close their freaking eyes like most people that are about to get in a fight. So when I get in fights, I'm very present, hyper present. And I'm okay. And all I know is that if I just go like this, I'm going to, you know what I mean? Punch is coming, head goes back, it misses, and then so like the system's approach to life is a byproduct of dealing with so much chaos and uncertainty. And then as I started getting resources, money, I just kept learning new ways to create leverage. And I had to because I wanted to be in a relationship. I talk about in the book, but like, back in my 20s, when I finally started making some money, I was engaged. I was about to get married. And 7 weeks before the wedding, my fiance walks out and says, I'm not doing this. Well, that sucks.
Yeah.
Because I kind of did everything up to that point for her and our future. And all of a sudden, I didn't have anything left. Sure, I was rich. Dude, it's funny, Eric, because this, man. People think it's about getting the money and getting paid and then I'll get to be happy. And then you realize, and I joke with people, it's like, if I put $10 million in bank account tonight, I wish I could do it. People are like, test me. I'd love that. And I'm like, well, you don't realize this tomorrow morning, you're going to wake up and it's going to feel good, but then you're just going to realize you're still you. You're still the self-doubt, ashamed, concerned, anxiety prone, depressed, angry. You're still you. And if anything, that will amplify every one of those things. So you better figure out how to work on that crap before you get rich, because the money will just amplify that. And if you got demons, those demons will scream loud.
Yes. I say all the time, you have to build the businessman before you build the business plan. If you don't, then
that's bars. I love that.
Yep.
You got to build the business man before you build the business
Nick
plan.
Alfano, who's in Nashville, Tennessee.
I've seen Nick's name around. Yeah,
he's hanging out with Bradley a lot right now.
Say it again.
You have to build the businessman before you build the business plan. Because if you don't, you're going to create a lot of cool stuff and you're going to get a lot of money, but you're the same person, and then you're just going to, when you go to leverage and you're just going to self-implode at a higher level.
So good.
Because it's an amplifier. Money is an amplifier. So if you haven't figured it out in your family and your faith with God and all the other, in your self-development, if you're not happy, then you're going to be more unhappy and your family's going to explode more and all of that. So it's like, it's almost a curse, right?
Dude, it's probably one of my favorite moments of the day, you saying that.
Really?
It's just beautiful. It's just such a, I hope people understand.
I give Nick credit for that one, not me. So
yeah. But I mean, look, we amplify everybody's words, right? Like I really, right now, I don't read anything that was written after 1940s. I don't want it to affect my thoughts because all of it's a remix. Let's be honest. I mean,
totally.
Everybody's like, oh, that's my idea. You just haven't studied history far enough. Yeah. Like, let's be honest, right? We are byproducts of our environment and we're all remixes, including the stuff that you are regurgitating came from some inspiration, some person, etc. And I think it's actually cool to just acknowledge that, because for whatever reason, for you in this moment at this time, you felt like sharing that specific word. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's where a lot of people, they get too programmatic about how they communicate instead of just listening to their heart. Like when you said that, man, it hit my heart. I looked over and Lowen's like, yeah, brother. But it's words, dude. Like, it's so cool. Yeah. It's literally a well-placed sentence that can shift somebody's whole perspective and change everything.
No, I agree. In moving into this book still, because there's so much, and we could.
It's all good. They can get the 4 or 5 hours. I'm here to just
get the book. Honestly, I love this book. This book is a must-have, seriously. And I know it's like, hey, plug Dan because he's on your podcast. No, for real. Like, this book has had many, many shifts in my mind. One of the biggest ones is what I want to get into is we have this idea as entrepreneurs that hey, if I hire this assistant to buy back my time, I've got to train them and they got to be the perfect fit. And I'm going to spend all this money and it's going to actually be more stress. I'm already stressed. And now I'm going to be more stressed because I got to, like, that's hard enough. I want to talk about your opinion of something else. What about the person that's 9 to 5 that's trying to get out and trying to buy back their time?
Yep.
How do they get out of it? How do they start buying back their time?
If I'm a 9 to 5er, which I love because the economy is built off of people supporting people's dreams. So I'm grateful for, nobody on my team probably works 9 to 5, but like that concept of like having people support other people, like I don't look down on that. And I honor anybody that shows up to work and create, right? Here's what I would say to them. The cheapest way for them to buy back their time is to actually become more productive. So in my book, I talk about the 5 time assassins. Like most people rob themselves of their time by not being productive or being effective or being resourceful or being. So it's like, what does that mean? It's like, if you don't plan your week right off the bat, you're just not going to be efficient.
Yeah.
Like it's very simple stuff. Like if you don't sit down on Sunday night and say, what do I want to accomplish this week? Let me look at my calendar. Let me put stuff in there. Let me look at opportunities to put similar tasks together. Or like if I've got to go run errands, get groceries, and then I got to do this appointment. Well, maybe I get the groceries after I go to my hair appointment. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm already out. Right off the bat, most people could probably get 20, 30% more of their week back by doing that. So $0. Like people are like, oh, I don't have any money. It's like, cool. Good news. You don't need any.
Just get clear on your vision on Sunday for the week.
Yeah, there's that, right? Mm-hmm. There's even just looking at your time shifting of energy. So for me, I have certain things I do in the morning and other things I do in the afternoon. Some people don't have the privilege of doing that. I get that. But if you do have some level of managing or renegotiating things with other people, like put yourself first. I think most people don't even value their time, so they never think of renegotiating with anybody. So somebody asks them, hey, I need you to do this at 5 o'clock. And they go, okay. Hey, I need you to do this at 2 o'clock on Tuesday. Okay. Hey, we only have this spot open on this day. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Why? Because they just want to be agreeable because they don't like confrontation. Oh, I'm saying you need to start expressing your preferences, right? You need to request. What did I say earlier, Lowen? Express your requests. Dude, express your requests. Right? Yes, last night I'm on stage signing books and it's hot. Okay. The room was packed, a lot of people. I'm sweaty. I don't get sweaty. And they're taking photos and I'm like, well, I don't want to have a bunch of photos where my armpits, I look like I just went through a slip and slide. Yeah. So I was like, hey, Lowen, we're going to move this table off the stage into the hallway where it's cooler. And the organizer's like, what are you doing? And I go, I'm going into that hallway over there and all this lineup. We're gonna move on. And she's like, what? How are you gonna do that? And I'm like, see these two big buff guys? Like they'll grab the table. Like don't worry about it. And we like lift the table up over the chairs of this room, walk into the hallway. And in that moment, as soon as we got out there, not only was I more comfortable, guess what? All the people in line were. And I didn't feel like rushing, and I could be present, and I could sign the books and have a great conversation. And Lowen wasn't sweaty, and like it sounds so simple. Yeah. But all I'm trying to say is most people don't express their requests. They don't give themselves permission to ask for what they desire because they don't want to be.
It's like the No More Mr. Nice Guy, right?
Yeah, but it's not even No More. I never read that book.
Oh, it's so good.
But I think
that's the concept.
Yeah, but here's my problem with that language is like, I'm still a nice guy. So we got to be careful what words we use because saying no more Mr. Nice Guy means that I'm not a nice guy. And I wouldn't agree that I'm not a nice guy. I just desire to express my request.
And that's the book. It's that you should express how you feel inside it to make something happen like that.
Exactly.
And that's what the whole book's about. Yeah.
So again, no money spent, time bought back. By just renegotiating, saying to the dentist, hey, I know you said you only got till 2, but what about on Friday? Is there any chance there might be a cancellation? What would need to be true for me to take that spot? Well, now that you ask, blah, 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 blah. Oh, thank you. Yeah. So I just think like right off the bat, even the 9 to 5ers, they could just be more productive. Even energy management. Like if you don't work out and you're asking me how to buy back your time, we're going to just stop the conversation. We're going to go get a sweat on. And dude, Eric, if you see me, like I'm friends with, like, we'll literally go work out now. we're going to go and we're going to sweat. We're going to sit down. We're going to I don't care. Like, because I just can't see how you're going to be effective so that you can compress your time and get more done and be focused. Cause like my mind will go out of, like, it'll get distracted if I don't exhaust the body. My belief is that I exhaust the body to tame the mind.
Interesting.
That's how, like, people are like, hey, how did you deal with your ADHD? You don't take medication. I took medication for 13, 14 years and I didn't like it. And eventually I said, no, I'm going to figure out how to do this on my own. And I'll tell you, I can't have sugar. If I eat sugar, I can see my thoughts change.
Interesting.
Oh yeah. Self-doubt, negativity, frustration. It shows up. It's the craziest thing because I don't do sugar, that every once in a while, if I have a dessert, I can actually see afterwards.
Starts to come automatically.
The self-doubt's a fascinating one. I'm like such a positive, expressive, like abundant guy. And then I have sugar and then I'm like self-conscious and like, oh, I'm really not that good. And I'm just like, whoa. Where'd that guy come from? And then the other thing is just like being able to focus, being able to be present with you right now. Yeah. If I don't work out in the morning, even if it's a little bit, I say sweat every day. I just need to break a sweat. I gotta do something that forces the body to do something it naturally wouldn't do because it left to everything, it's entropy. And then that creates kind of a standard and a belief that comes with me for the rest of my day that allows me to be present and focused in anything I do. Yeah. And I just think a lot of people they may not even know this because they've never gone 5 days in a row to work out. Yeah. I've gone, if I had to guess, 2,000 days working out every day. I haven't missed a day.
Wow. Because it's your medication.
It's just who I am. Yeah, it's just and like a workout could be just doing yoga. A workout could be doing a 25K run. It could be biking 100K. It could be nothing. It could be like picking up my kids and going on a 5K hike. And holding my kids and being like, wow, this is a workout, but I get to hold my boys. Yeah. I remember I was doing 75 hard and I didn't have a bag. I forgot my rucksack and I put my son on my shoulders and I went for a hike. He had the best time with me. That's cool. I got my workout and I got to be one with my child. Yeah. I mean, I just think that so many people that are working 9 to 5, they're like, how do I buy back my time? It's like, how about you just focus on you?
Yeah. And then if you want to buy back too. I love that one to start, if I can just interject for a second, because the fitness side, it not only like you start to get comments from other people like, wow, you look good. Wow, you look different. Wow. And so it almost like it's helping you rewire that new identity. When you agree, like other people are seeing it, I'm seeing it. I'm keeping the commitments that I made to myself, which gives me confidence. Yep. And then other people are seeing me win and seeing my body change, which then, hey, maybe I am changing. And then you can go and just compound those wins.
Fitness is the gateway drug to
100%
to success. Mm-hmm. It teaches you so much. It teaches you delayed gratification, huge. Teaches you the power of discipline, huge. Because you don't go to the gym. I remember my buddy Marty's like, hey man, I want to come to the gym with you, but I just want you to know I don't want to get too big. I'm like, bro, you let me know when you feel like you're busting out of your shirt. You know what I mean? Like, you ain't gonna go do a set with me and then go home and have 20-inch pipes. Like, I don't know what show you've been watching or what you're taking, but it ain't gonna happen. So it's just funny how, like, but it's just like fitness and health. It is a gateway drug to personal development and betterment. And I just think that's why I love when I see young folks get on that, those 18, 19-year-old guys just start going to the gym and they like tame themselves and they work through their demons. Man, when you're lifting a heavy set and the muscles are ripping and you just like the pump cures all. Dude, right? In our office, we call it the pump, prioritize the pump.
It's the Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's like coming, right?
I'm not going there, but my guys show me that video all the time. They literally run around the office with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
They're all smiling and shaking their heads.
Oh yeah, they're
sorry
very
if that
aware.
offends anybody.
No, they have the T-shirts. They've got the posters. Yeah.
I have one more. This is my last question, okay, for the podcast, and then we'll wrap it up. But so we talked about the 9 to 5. If somebody wants to get started, what about somebody that's scaling their business and they're trying to get into 10 million, 20
those
million,
are my peeps.
100 million? What are you teaching those people?
Yep.
How are they buying back their time? What do you spend? Let's ask this, maybe more specific. What do you spend the majority of your time teaching those people?
Yep. It's literally what's in the book, the buyback loop. First off, we do a 2-week time and energy audit, right? But what I do as a coach when I'm working with them privately is I'm able to challenge their beliefs. Right? So when they go like, oh, that's kind of green. No. Kind of green is yellow. And honestly, it's probably red, but we'll just call it yellow for now. And then we look at it, and then I really challenge them to say, let's take that bucket of yellow and red stuff that you could pay other people. Because people that are at 8 or 9 figures, they have the financial means. They don't have the belief to give themselves the power, or they don't have the tools to actually understand how to let go of those kind of meaningful pieces of work, right? So that's the big stuff. But I'll tell you, so like there's the tactical, because I'm very much like a practitioner. I'm an operator. I just happen to tell stories. But the thing that I spend most of my time with my very high level clients is getting crystal clear on why we're doing this. Eric, you'd think these people have clarity around their vision. And I'll be honest with you, they don't.
Really?
They don't. No, because if they did, they wouldn't be in the fucking world of hate that they're in.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have the issues. They wouldn't come to me with the pain. If they had clarity of what's important to them, then they would have already solved the problem, but they don't. So they don't know. So they only do the thing they know how to do, which is work. And I get it.
Yeah.
Especially for men. I've studied men. Like, this is a biological thing. This isn't Dan's opinion or psychology. This is built into our DNA as men and women. When men don't feel appreciated or successful at home, they go work. Why? Because it's the only place where they can feel good about themselves. Yeah. And in the noise that's happening out there, they run back to their office, because at least there I feel very validated, appreciated, productive.
Yeah.
That's all I know. I know if I go there, that's going to happen. And it's important for men to feel like they're producing. We're producers. We like to create. We like to go out and hunt. So what I do with them is this really cool exercise to teach them this concept of having 100% clarity, 100% belief, 100% of the time. And to the degree that you can have 100% clarity on that vision, 100% belief that you can create it, and you hold that belief 100% of the time, you will accelerate your ability to pull that into your reality.
Love that.
And that I would say is where I spend most of my time with my clients.
Interesting.
And then the tools are just, how do we accelerate that?
Yeah. That's so cool.
It's fun.
That is cool. Dude, this has been an amazing podcast. We haven't been here that long, but it's felt like, there's probably 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 things at least that somebody could get from this podcast could literally change their life. Like, there's some deep stuff here too. And there's deeper, like, again, another plug, like, it goes deeper in this book.
It's all in the book. I mean, even the 10X vision map, which I just shared with you, is what I do. Right? It's in the book.
And these are things that people that are making tens of hundreds of millions of dollars are
I work with public CEOs, 9-figure CEOs. Yeah. Like, this is the highest of the highest.
You guys need to read this
also
go download it right now.
Yeah. Buybackyourtime.com if you want to go, but it's available on Amazon, any other place. And I'll tell everybody, Eric, if they want, like, I want to do something unique for your audience, if they find me on Instagram, because that's really my favorite platform, 2 L's of Martell, and they follow me, that's all I'm asking, I will send them, if they message me, my internal SOP, standard operating procedure, for my assistant. Sanitize. It's like 42 pages. Awesome. I will send you the Google Doc. You make a copy. It's yours. Tweak it. Play with it, and you'll see the method to the madness. It's quite unique about how I even think about that relationship. So just mention the podcast and type EA, and my team will send you the Google Doc.
So cool. Thanks for doing that, man.
100%.
Thanks again for coming. This has been awesome, and I just want to honor you at the end, dude. Like, way to go. Like, way to be able to freaking crush after such a crazy upbringing, to be able to get through all of that really, really hard stuff, and something prepared you for that conversation, obviously, but then to be able to take action, actually get to where you are right now, and still be vulnerable, and still be authentic, and still say, hey, I still struggle. I'm human, but I'm pretty badass. Like, I have a lot of cool stuff, and I work hard. Yeah. And I have this new identity, and you can too.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about your story, and hopefully for all the listeners that have listened to this episode, you can too.
Thank you.
You can too. This man just gave you permission to be able to go and be the best version of yourself. So thank you. Thank you again for being on the podcast.
It's an honor, man.
Guys, if you feel like this podcast gave you value or could give somebody else value, please share it. Give us a 5-star rating. We don't accept anything less than 5-star rating. So
anything less, don't bother.
5-star rating, and go share this episode. Like, seriously, we would love to be able to get this to as many people as possible. Go follow Dan on Instagram, 2 L's in Martell.
Yep.
And we'll see you next time, guys. Thanks for listening to this episode.